Okay, everyone, welcome to the Clio Cloud Conference of 2016. We're really happy to be here. Yay. So we're here to talk to you about getting paid. We're really happy to have it back in Chicago in the Radisson Blu, so I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. Getting paid is really important. It's integral to every business. Sorry, where am I? I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry. Thank you. He keeps clicking ahead of me. Sorry about that. Okay. So getting paid is an integral part of any business. You have to keep the doors open by getting money. So you have to have a proper revenue flow, and learning how to get paid will increase your efficiency in your day-to-day operations. So that's what we want to talk to you about today. First of all, we're going to introduce ourselves. Let's let you know who we are. So I'm Michelle Lodge. My primary job is specializing in paying people. I am the payroll and benefits coordinator at Clio. So basically, if I didn't show up, I don't think anyone else would show up, because I know if I don't get paid, I ain't coming. So before that, I worked as a senior accountant for a number of years, but this is where we're not going to start getting into numbers. And Aaron's going to introduce himself now.
Perfect. My name is Aaron, as it says on the screen. I am kind of special here. I don't really speak as part of my day job. I'm a software developer here at Clio. I've been around for about 1.5 years now, and like Michelle, this is my first time at ClioCon. Just a little bit about me. Michelle is an accountant in a previous life. I was not born a software developer. I was actually a biologist before that. I don't want to bore you about animals, because that's not what we're here for today. But if you do want to chat, you can come find me after, and I'll be free to talk all about life.
So first, we're going to go over an overview of what we will be covering today, because it will be a lot. We're first going to start with bank account setups, and that's law firms usually have 2 types of accounts, and that's trust and operating, so we'll be going over both of those. Next, we're going to go on to online payment setup. There's ways that you can receive payment through Clio, so we're going to go through that. Next, we're going to go through creating bills, so how to create bills so you can share them with your clients to hopefully get paid. Next, we're going to go through sharing bills, because if you've created them, you obviously want to share them. And then the last thing we're going to go through is receiving payment, so actually how you receive the payment into Clio so it can show as paid. Aaron's going to go over things that we're not going to go over, as we have a lot to talk about already.
Exactly. So Clio is a large application. And there are different parts to the app that we actually don't have time to cover. The first thing we won't be talking about is actually our accounting integrations. These are integrations we have with other third-party vendors, including Xero, QuickBooks, QuickBooks Desktop. We won't have time to cover bill themes. That's a little bit more advanced. It's a customization feature that allows users to change certain aspects about their bill, things like fonts, headers, logos, things like that. We won't have time for exports reports. This is a little important if you're interested in your business metrics, letting you export things about your bank transactions, your bank accounts, even running different reports, things as your revenue reports or your accounts receivable. Another customization feature we won't have is our payment profiles. So Clio actually lets you customize different payment options per client, setting things like interest rates, when a bill is due, things like that. And our last thing we won't be covering is actually Rich Dad, Poor Dad, not exactly part of Clio. But if you do wish to find more information, Google is your best friend.
So why are we here? Money's important. It's important to any business. So we're going to show you how Clio can help you track your revenue stream and save you time. Basically, we want you to look like this guy when you go home at night, lying on a pile of money.
And a personal hero of mine is Ellen DeGeneres, so we want to go by this motto as well. Bitch better have my money.
That's a good one. Basically, about your accounting for your law firm and collecting your money, your billing, we do not want you to think like this. We don't want you to feel like this, so that's why we're going to try to help you.
So what can Clio do for you? One of the major things it does, it actually offers the ability to speed up your billing workflow. It'll give you easier ways to receive your money, easier ways to share your bills, and it also helps standardize your accounting. One thing that's not listed here is actually Clio's ability to save you time. Jack talked about it in his keynote this morning. Time is pretty important. And according to our annual customer survey, there's roughly 8 hours saved per week per customer that uses Clio. Over a month, that adds up to roughly around 32 hours a month. And that's 32 hours that basically you're free to do whatever you want. Some of our customers have told us they take their kids to soccer, they learn a hobby, raise the next Olympian. All these things with 32 hours extra a month is actually a great amount of time added to any person's day.
So here we're going to introduce you to Saul. Saul is a lawyer. He does some lawyering. He wants his money. Unfortunately, Saul doesn't have Clio. So after Saul does all of his lawyering, he sends his bill to his clients. And he waits. And he waits. What feels like one eternity later, Saul finally gets paid. Statistics show that it takes an average of 87 days for a lawyer to actually send out their bills. Then it takes another 83 days to actually get paid. That's 170 days that you're waiting to get payment for work that you've done. That means if Saul's done work in July, he might be getting paid in December. That is way too long. What we need to understand is that cash flow to any small law firm especially is king. You need cash. You don't want to wait for your cash to come in because you have bills to pay. Getting your cash quicker can avoid you getting NSF fees, overdraft issues. Saul needs to start paying himself. So with that being said, we're going to jump right into how to set up your bank account setup properly.
The first question we have to ask ourselves is, where am I going to put all this damn money? Hopefully no one has said this. And thankfully, Clio helps us in this. So how Clio helps is it actually allows us to track 2 different types of bank accounts. These are, as Michelle's actually going to go over, the operating and the trust accounts.
So we're going to simply go over it in just very simple terms. Your operating account is like your checking account. So you can use the money in this account to pay your bills, your payroll, your rent, anything to operate your firm. The next thing is the trust accounts. Trust accounts, you're taking that money as a deposit for your clients. So you want to be careful what you're doing with this money. You want to make sure that you have it segregated from your operating accounts, and depending on what state you're operating in, you want to be really careful in how you treat these funds, because you can get into a lot of problems if you misuse trust account money. So next we're going to go through how to set up your bank account in Clio. So here in the black tab, you want to click Accounts, and in the right-hand corner, there's a green New button. There's a drop-down menu for either your operating account or your trust account. You want to select which one. After your account name, we're going to set this up as our firm operating account. There's all this information you can enter in. You can enter in your account number, everything. It's all record-keeping purposes only. This does not tie to your bank accounts. It's just for your records so you can easily access the information, but it's not tied to your bank. At the bottom, we want to enter in our opening balance just for our own record-keeping purposes, and then you can click on Create New Bank Account, and it's set up. If you wanted to set up a trust account, you would do the exact same thing, except from the drop-down menu, instead of selecting the operating account, you'd select Trust Account, and then you'd continue on the same way.
Perfect. So that's just setting up bank accounts. And there is something a little extra that we can set up, and this is actually our Clio Payments option. This option we launched last year with the help of LawPay, and it's actually a feature that lets lawyers, such as yourselves, take credit cards as a form of payment. And it's actually super easy to sign up with. I'm sure some of you have already done it already. If not, follow along, and we're going to go on a magic carpet ride here. Michelle is going to go through this.
So perfect. So up at the top right-hand side of the screen, you're going to see a little gear icon in the red box. You want to click on that. Under Clio Settings, you're then going to go to the Online Payments. Once you click on that, it's going to bring you to this page. In the top corner, in top left-hand corner, you're going to see choose your payment account provider. You need to make sure you select Clio Payments here. Once you select Clio Payments, you're going to have two options. There's going to be the blue button. It's going to say sign up using LawPay, or then just below it, sorry, I don't want to go that fast. Just below it, there's going to be sign up using for Clio Payments. So if you had a LawPay account, you would then select the sign in using LawPay. It will then bring you to the LawPay sign-in page. You just want to enter in your credentials here that you've already had set up from your LawPay account, and it'll bring you right into LawPay. If you don't already have a LawPay account, it's okay. You can sign up directly using Clio Payments. Then we'll waive the activation fee, and the monthly fee is actually waived with your Clio Payment subscription. And Aaron will go into that a little bit more detail.
Perfect. So as Michelle just said, there are some of us here today, including myself, that don't actually have a LawPay account. And signing up for Clio Payments is pretty much super easy as well. So we start by hitting the sign up for Clio Payments button. That brings us to this screen. So there's actually a form that you'll have to fill out. Every single field you see listed here is actually required. The first step is just your business information. In this case, we're working with Mr. Saul Goodman. So we're going to fill in his business name, Goodman and Associates, his address. One of the things you will need is actually your federal tax ID for your business. That is required by LawPay. After this is all filled in, you'll hit the blue About the Business Owner button, and you'll proceed to the next sign up step. This step tells us more about the business owner itself. This guy. So he's the president. He's going to fill in his email, his name, things like that. There's more information you'll need here. Chief among them, your social security number. Unfortunately, you'll also need your driver's license information. That's not exactly listed here. That's going to show up at the bottom of the screen. And like before, there's a blue button that you can select when you're done, when everything's filled up, and that takes us to the third step. This is the third step. This part is actually the most important because in this area, this is your bank account information. Before, Michelle mentioned that Clio doesn't really track actual bank accounts. The bank accounts highlighted in this section are actual bank accounts tied to an actual financial institution, and it's how LawPay will deposit your money. So make sure your bank name is correct, your bank account number is correct, and also your ABA routing number is correct as well. After this is all filled out, you can have the option to add a trust account if you wish. Same thing, this form will just reload, allowing you to input the exact same information for that account. After that, you'll accept the terms and conditions. Here, you'll be required to submit a digital signature as well. Again, we can proceed to the next page by hitting the blue button, which brings us to this form. In this box, here is actually outlined what types of credit cards you're now able to receive as form of payment. So it's the big three: MasterCard, Visa, Amex. And for the 3 of you in the audience that have Discover cards, we take that as well. You'll also see the Visa, MasterCard, and Discover transaction fees, or transaction fees. Different transaction fees you'll see. There's a standard transaction fee of 30%. You'll notice that the activation fee and the monthly fee is waived. Michelle mentioned this a little earlier. These 2 fees are actually the LawPay fees that you would normally pay if you had a LawPay account. That's waived on your behalf if you use Clio Payments. If you're satisfied with this service and you really wish to take Discover as a form of payment, you'll hit Apply. And then within 48 hours, you'll get an email from LawPay detailing the contents of your registration, things like that, and you'll be all ready to go with Clio Payments.
So now that we've figured out where we're going to put all of our sweet, sweet money, as Aaron would call it, we now need to go to actually set up the bills. So in the bill setup overview, we're going to go over bill settings, which will be your firm logo, your currency, your tax rates, decimal rounding, and time rounding. So under the settings tab, where we were before, the little red box the little gear icon, instead of choosing online payments, you actually want to go to the billing. So once you click on that, it'll bring you to this page. So the first thing you're going to see is the firm logo, where you can set up your firm logo. So you just want to click on the the gray choose file button first. Choose whatever logo you have for your firm, and then select the upload. For Saul, we already put in his Goodman and Associates. And next, Aaron will go over the default currency setup.
Perfect. Clio does support different types of currency, so when you're issuing a bill, you don't have to do it in just one type of currency. Here, we actually default to USD. You can select Canadian if you want. That's what I would do, seeing as I'm from Canada. There are other more exotic currencies, if you will, things like Brazilian real, euro, and even the Great British pound as forms of currency. It's super easy. Just choose the one you want and hit apply.
So the next thing, very important, everyone, tax rates. We want to set up our tax rates properly so the tax man doesn't come knocking on your door. So there's two types of tax rates that you can enter into Clio. There's the primary tax rate, and then there's the secondary tax rate. Most states only have one tax rate, so if you do, you would just enter yours under the primary tax rate. Easy. If you have two tax rates, like we do in Canada, you would then use your secondary tax rate. I know some states have a business and occupation tax, so you would enter that in under the secondary tax rate as well. So the secondary tax rate can be applied to either your pre or post-tax amount. So here's just an example of what it would look like. So Saul is practicing law in New Mexico, Albuquerque. So their tax rate is actually 7.3125. So they would enter that under their primary tax rate as their state tax. If they had a business and occupation tax, say 1.5, they would then enter that in under the secondary tax rate. New Mexico actually doesn't have two taxes. We just wanted to put it in here as an illustration just to give you an example to enter in both. And that is how you do tax rates.
Perfect. So the next setting we're going to talk about is related to rounding. We have two types of rounding in Clio. We have decimal rounding, and we have time rounding. Unfortunately, time rounding takes a little getting used to, and it's really subtle. So the best way to learn about these two types of rounding is actually by example. Let's begin. We have Saul here, and he's entering a time entry. And he's working on a matter, number 13, with his client called Haverford. If you notice, Saul charges basically $200 an hour for a phone call, and he's embarked on a 22-minute phone call with his client. For those of us who are mathematically inclined, I know we're all lawyers here, for those of us who are mathematically inclined, can anybody give me the fraction of an hour that 22 minutes is? 0.35. That's actually very, very, very close. Michelle?
0.3666 repeating.
Right on. So it is 0.36666 repeating. And so with decimal rounding on, we just don't have 0.36666 until the number rolls off the page. We actually round it to two decimal places. So this phone call would actually appear right there. It's a 0.37 of an hour for phone call. Straightforward. Let's move on to time rounding, which is here. This is probably the main setting you're going to change, which is the minute increment. Here what happens is Clio will take your minutes that you've entered for a time entry and round up to the nearest 6-minute increment. You can change this increment to 10 or 15 or 30 or whatever. We're just going to leave it at 6. So again, another math question. 22 rounded up to the nearest 6-minute increment is 24. Good. Good work. Good work, class. Sorry. So it does get rounded up to 24. And again, one more math question, the last math question of the day for now. 24 minutes out of 60 is how many fractions of an hour?
You already
4/10. Perfect. So with decimal rounding on and time rounding on, your 22-minute phone call gets rounded to a 0.4 of an activity. The reason why we're doing this is it's actually quite a common use case. Every time you make a time entry, there's a little bit of administrative work you do before and after. So we're just doing this out of convenience. Again, this is just a setting. You can turn it off if you don't want. So yep, that is rounding.
So now that we've gone through that, we need to generate bills because we need to share a bill. We have to generate it before we can share a bill. So there's two ways that you can generate a bill in Clio. One is under the Billable Clients tab, and then also is the Quick Bills button. So the Billable Clients you're going to find located under the Bills tab, and then the Quick Bills button you're going to find in three places. It's going to be under the Bills tab, the Matters tab, and the Contacts tab. So first, Aaron's going to go through the Billable Clients, and then I will take over for the Quick Bills.
Perfect. So this is the Billable Clients page. You just reach it by hitting the Bills button, and there's a Billable Clients button on the left. What you see here is every single matter for every single client that you have. All these matters are billable. For example, Tom here has 3 matters that he can be billed for. We're just going to select one. Scroll back up. There's a Generate button. You're going to hit the Generate button. These are a bunch of options. We'll actually go over them a little bit later. You'll hit the green Generate Bills button here. After that, you'll wait for Clio to generate the bills. And just like that, your bill has been generated. Let's talk about these options. So this is the modal that you just saw pop up, listing all the options available to you as you generate a bill. So you can do things, such as change your date. So by default, Clio will try to use roughly a month as your due date. You can change that to 2 months, 3 months. You can also change the issue date of a bill, so you can predate a bill as well. You can post-date a bill. There's something called detail levels. For simplicity's sake, I would recommend the first option, which is all details. So every single time entry that you have on this bill will just be a separate item. Activity summary will group separate items together, and aggregate will just give one line item with just a total. This is the last set of options. The options here are things like applying tax, applying secondary tax. And the last option you see is skip the bill approval process, and we're actually going to go over that just a little later. Regardless of what options you choose, if you're satisfied, you'll hit the Generate Bills button, and your bill is essentially generated for you.
So next, we're going to go over the new Quick Bill button. There's different places, like I said, you can find this. You're going to find it under the Bills tab, the Matters tab, and the Contacts tab. So once you click on the new Quick Bill button, the big green button, it's going to open up this screen. So here you can enter in like the contact information, the matter information, just up there. You can also enter in your time entries, your expense entries, and then it has the same exact options that Aaron was going over with how you want your bill to be laid out. It's just a different option to create the bill. You might be thinking, why use the new Quick Bill button versus the billable clients? Here, say Saul just went out for lunch with a new client. He doesn't have him in Clio yet. He has no matter information, nothing for him. He could bring up a new Quick Bill button and easily enter in the information right here and generate the bill right away. It's just a different way to produce the same workflow, but just giving you easier access to create a bill. So this one is under the Bills tab. You're also going to find it under the Matters tab. So if you click on it under the Matters tab, your information here is actually going to be pre-filled out. So you'll see the contact information, your matter information is already pre-filled. So it's just a little bit quicker. We actually recommend that you guys go under the Matters tab, but you can use any tab you want, just because the information is pre-filled. You're also going to find it under the Contacts tab. So just like the Bills tab or the Matters tab, it's the same button, except here it'll fill in the contact information, but you'll have to enter in the Matters information. So just whatever works best for your workflow, we just wanted to show you all the different places that you can find this button. You may also see beside the new Quick Bill button, we have this new Trust Request button. We're not going to go into too much detail over this, but Aaron is going to lightly touch on it because it is a very big feature in Clio.
Exactly. So trust requests. Jack talked a little bit about this at his keynote, and I'm happy to say this is actually the first major project that I helped build at Clio, so it's pretty interesting being able to talk to the, thank you. It's pretty interesting being able to talk to the guy that actually built the feature. And I wish I had a photo. I don't. I was literally locked in a room for 3 months. They fed pizza under the door, and they told me to get to work, or you're not leaving. And that's what I did. And we came up with trust requests. For those of you that are probably not familiar with trust requests, it's basically a bill that allows you to take payment into a trust account. And that's probably the best way I can sum it up. If you do have any questions, you can come find me after. You can come find anyone in the Smart Bar after, or just basically anyone with a Clio t-shirt after, and we'll try to get that, basically all the information you want from it. But yeah, so trust requests, one important thing to remember is that anything you can do with a bill, you can also do with a trust request. But wait, there's more. The billing lifecycle.
So the billing lifecycle is the life that your bill is going to live as it ventures through Clio. So there's a couple of options. There we go. Okay, so any bill that you create, it's going to start in the draft state. So in a draft state, you can edit the bill fully. You can individually edit the line items. You can share the bill. You can do anything with the bill except for pay a bill while it's in the draft state. So from the draft state, you have two options that you can go to. You can go to pending approval, or you can go to awaiting payment. So you might be wondering why go to one versus the other. Well, in an example I'll give you, say Saul has an assistant or paralegal producing their bills. Then they don't want, losing myself here. So if they had an assistant or a paralegal, they would probably want that person doing up their bills. So if they were not creating the bills, if Saul wasn't creating his bills himself, he would then send it to pending approval. Their legal assistant or paralegal would send it to pending approval, and then the bill would then go to Saul to check over before he would put it into awaiting payment. So he would then approve it in the pending approval state and then push it down to awaiting payment, just so he can catch any errors or make sure it looks all right. But if he's a solo practitioner, sending it to pending approval doesn't really make sense, because then he's just going to be approving it out of that state anyway. So he can eliminate pending approval altogether and send it directly to awaiting payment. Awaiting payment, to me, is like the second most exciting state, because you're that much closer to getting paid. So once we get to awaiting payment, you can send it to your clients, and then hopefully they quickly pay you. Yes, Aaron?
What if Saul made a mistake? What if Saul, being the animal lover he is, owns a cat, and his cat decides to walk across the keyboard and ends up billing a client for like $10 million?
That is a really good question, Aaron. $10 million, I hope that that's what you really get to bill, but most likely not likely every day. So that's okay. If you've made mistakes, you just have to look at what state you're in. If you're in the draft state, if you're in pending approval, you can delete the bill, start over, no big deal. If you're in the awaiting payment state, or if it's in the paid state, you want to void the bill and you want to regenerate it. Why we say that is because you want to leave the paper trail for your accountant or your bookkeeper to find it, especially if it's paid. If it is paid, you actually have to delete the payment first attached to that bill before you can void the bill. So that's a really important step. But it helps with record keeping. So if you void the bill, then there's a trace of what used to be there, and it's easier to locate the payment or follow it through to see what you guys have done. So that's why we say, like, if it's in pending approval or draft state, delete. It's totally fine. But if you're past that state, so awaiting payment or paid, you should void the bill and then regenerate it.
Exactly. So that's actually a lot of information, and not all of it is super clear. So we're just going to go over it. The first thing is generated bills start off in a draft state, and that's any bill. Again, this applies to trust requests as well. They'll all start off in draft. Draft bills or trust requests can be submitted for approval, or they can be approved directly. Actually, right through that option we saw earlier in the pop-up. Approved bills are awaiting payment. Again, we want our bills to be here or paid, hopefully. After payment, bills are in the paid state. And again, importantly, you can only delete unapproved bills. If you do wish to delete, well, you'll just have to void the bill and regenerate it instead.
So we've covered a lot so far. We still have more, but we're just going to give you a quick overview of what we've covered so far, just in case. So we've gone through bank accounts. There's 2 bank accounts that law firms have, and that's trust and operating accounts. Then we've gone through the Clio payment setup, powered by LawPay, and that was setting up your Clio payment or using LawPay to sign in. Then we've gone through bill setup, which was your currency, your tax rates, your firm logo, decimal rounding, and your time rounding. We then went on to bill generation. There was 2 ways to generate bills. Under the Bills tab, there was the Billable Clients, or also under the Bills tab, there was the new Quick Bill button, which you could also find under the Matters tab and the Contacts tab. We also just went over the billing lifecycle, which we're hoping that is still fresh in your memory. If it's not, please feel free to come see us after the presentation or to the Clio Smart Bar, and we'll be able to help you out there as well.
Perfect. We're not done here yet, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone take a deep breath. We good? I'm good. I needed that. So we're done making all these bills. We've generated all these bills. But now we got to let our clients know that they do actually owe us money. That's what this next section is about, bill sharing. There are multiple ways to share a bill in Clio. The first one's probably the most straightforward. It's email. You can use Clio to directly email a client a bill right away. You can use something called Clio Connect, which is our proprietary sharing portal that your clients can sign up for. You can go more archaically. You can print out your bill, but who wants to do that? And mail it to people. But who wants to wait? No one wants to wait. You can go even more archaic. You do telegraph if you have a machine. If you're a bio major like me, you can get a carrier pigeon. Or you can do my personal favorite. You can chop down 600 trees. You can chop down 600 trees, climb a mountain, light a signal fire to really let your client know you mean business. But we're not here to do that. Michelle's actually going to take us through how to use Clio instead to share our bills.
So the first option that we have is email. So you want to select share a bill with your client. It's usually the easiest option for most people, but you select your client's bill and press share. The bill will be sent in an attachment, so you just want to select the client that you want to send it to. So Saul likes to send his bills to Tom Haverford because he's been very bad, as Aaron would say. He sends it via email, and then if Saul wants to communicate anything to Tom, there's actually a messaging spot. They can type whatever he wants in there to send it to him. He clicks the green Share Bill button, and the bill will then be sent as an attachment. And there it would be. This is an example of the email that Tom would receive.
Exactly. So that's option 1. Option 2 is Clio Connect. For those of you who have never tried it, you actually share the bill exactly the same way. You would select it, and instead of selecting email, you would select Clio Connect. Your client would receive an email again, only this time, instead of an email with your bill attached to it, it's actually an email with a link. This link will lead your client to sign up for Clio Connect, or if they have a Clio Connect account, they can just sign in. This is actually the screen that they'll be seeing once they sign up or log in. In this case, Tom has signed in through Clio Connect. It says, "Welcome back, Tom." You can see his bills. One of them is open. And if he clicks on that invoice, he'll actually see this, the actual bill that you sent to him, and all the relevant bill information, things like how much is due, your invoice number, client, when's it due, how much is due, things like that. There are other options you can do here. You can download the bill as a PDF, store it for your own records. You'll see the little green button that says Pay Bill. We'll be getting to that guy a little later. Because for now, we're going to move on to our next section, which is getting paid.
Okay, so this is why you guys all showed up here today, right? Because we want to learn how to get paid. This is the most exciting part of our presentation. We're excited, right, Aaron?
Yeah.
You're excited?
I'm excited.
Okay. Woo! This is what Aaron calls the meat of our billing sandwich. He likes to call things interesting things.
Yeah, I have a lot of sayings. This is another one. Dollar dollar bill, y'all, with that exact face.
Personally, I'm more of a Leonardo DiCaprio fan, and I think he's a bit better looking than Aaron's slide. So I like to watch him throw money.
But let's get down to why we're really here. How do we get paid in Clio? The first option, you're probably thinking cash and check. Well, that's absolutely correct. You can use Clio to receive cash check payments. You can also use Clio to receive LawPay Legacy and LawPay 2.0 payments. We have an integration with them. And then we also have our aforementioned Clio Payments feature, which you can also get paid for.
So if your client wants to pay cash or check, you can select receipt, record payment up at the top on the bill, and here it'll open up the new pop-up window. You can enter in how much they want to pay for the bill. Here you want to select the source, so it would be a direct payment. If they were paying by check, under the description edit, you could click on the blue link and you could type in like the check number or something like that. That'll maybe help your bookkeeper or accountant track it down a little bit easier. Then you want to select the destination where you want the money to go to. So your operating account, if they're paying a bill, or if they're paying a trust request, they could select the proper trust request account here. And then you want to click on receiving payment. If you have Clio Payment set up, you could get paid by a credit card payment. So you would then select the credit card payment down on the bottom right-hand corner. Once selecting that, it'll show a 3-step process. The first one is your payment information. So like the last, if Saul received a credit card, he would then see how much Tom wanted to pay and type in the payment amount here, hopefully the full amount. Next, you still have to select the destination where the money has to go to. So he's paying for a bill, so the firm operating account would be used. You then move on to the billing information. Under the billing information, Saul wants to collect Tom Haverford's credit card details and enter that all in here, and then he'd select confirm. After he selects confirm, it'll just be all the information you've just typed in. You want to make sure that it's entered in properly, and if it is, you want to select receive payment, and Saul has now received payment for that invoice from Tom. However, Saul would like to make this more efficient even. He doesn't want to enter in all this credit card information. He'd rather Tom do it himself. So Aaron's going to walk you through that, how that can happen.
Exactly. Saul's a lazy guy. Well, not lazy, smart. Let's go with smart. Saul's a smart guy, and he wants to work efficiently. So there's really nothing more efficient than not typing anything to get money, because that's sort of the way that I would like to get paid. That doesn't really happen. So here, how that works is we're going to share the bill again. So this email looks pretty familiar, only this time you have Clio Payments enabled as an option. The email looks exactly the same, with the exception of this, the blue Pay Bill button. And this is something that your client sees. So your client would have to click the Pay Bill button, and he or she will be led to this page, very similar to what Michelle just talked about. Just fill in your payment amounts here. Again, hopefully in full, because that's what we want. Hit the billing information. Exact same thing. Credit card information again, right along here. You can confirm your payment. And again, your client would have to just basically say, yes, this is the amount I'm paying. Hit make payment. And Saul will have basically received money without ever actually lifting a finger outside of sharing the bill. Another cool thing, we talked about this little guy up here earlier. We're going to go back to him now. This is the green Pay Bill button, located when you're sharing a bill through Clio Connect. So your client here is doing all the work for you again. Only this time, instead of viewing it through their email, they'll be viewing it through their Clio Connect account. Hit the Pay Bill button. This little modal pops up. Here, again, very standard credit card form. Here, you'll also need to fill in your address, listed here. Payment amount, as usual. And you hit the Pay Now button. And again, like before, you get money in your bank account, which is great. Let's keep in mind that all payment methods that we just talked about, from cash check, Clio Payments, all those apply to both bills and trust requests. Just the destination where that money ends up is going to be different. And Clio, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, and Clio Payments is available for those of us who have boutique and elite subscriptions.
So what did you and Saul learn today? We all learned how to set up our account setups. So that was our bank account setups, which is our operating and trust accounts. We then went into setting up bills, which was your firm logo, your currency, your tax rates, your decimal rounding, and your time rounding. We then went on to bill generation, so all the different places you can generate a bill, and that was under your billable clients found on your bills tab, or your new quick bills button found on your bills tab, your matters tab, or your contacts tab, just depending on your workflow. Bill sharing we went over on how you can go by email, Clio Connect, you could use mail, or as Aaron would say, Signal Fire would really make a statement. And then last, getting paid, so how you can receive payment. If you have boutique or elite, you can use Clio Payments, or you can use cash and check.
So what happened to this guy? What happened to Mr. Saul Goodman? Well, Saul was here last year amongst everyone out there, just like you, staring at me, well, not me, someone like me, listening to our talk. And he went home, and he basically said, you know what, Clio Payments is going to save me a lot of time, and he signs up for it right away. What does this do? Michelle mentioned that billing takes roughly 170 to 180 days. He's actually reduced his billing hours from days to basically hours, even minutes, basically dependent on when your client checks their email. He's improved his record keeping by letting Clio do all the work, not making his accountant do all the work. He's also made his accountant a lot happier because the records are there already. And he actually has a lot happier clients because they're billed in a timely fashion and they have more methods of paying. They don't have to scrounge up money through a bank, get a money order. They just pay via credit card. So hopefully all these things that happened to Saul is actually going to happen to every single one of us in here today. So, any questions? Yes, you in the blue shirt?
Yeah, on a quick bill, you mentioned something, you have lunch and you want to send a bill, you don't have the matter already set up. Do you have to set the matter up in order to receive the money?
Yeah, so the question is that if you do a new quick bill, like if you went out for lunch with a client and you wanted to create the bill, that if you didn't have it set up,
Maybe it's a new client, somebody who's come in for a consult and
yes. So you would have to set up the contact information and the matter information, and you can do that directly from the new quick bills button, typing it in.
And related, you collect money up front and show it as received? Yeah, up front. So a payment or a flat fee that you collect in advance.
Yes. So
Yeah, you can. So the question was, can you receive money upfront and just list it? I'm assuming that's. Yeah. Okay. So you can. There's different ways to do that. After you create the matter, you can actually create a transaction for it to list it as essentially payment in advance. You can also decide to add an expense entry onto that bill directly from the Quick Bills screen, just to have that flat fee written down.
I'm sorry, the transaction paid in advance?
Oh, sorry. So there's actually a transaction tab. How about if we meet on the side and I can actually show you how that works after? Because it's just a little too much to go over right now. Yeah. Yes, lady in the black.
I'm the paralegal that's sending the bill to the attorney for his approval. How do I know the attorney has approved the bill other than going into awaiting payments?
So the question was, as a paralegal, how do I know a bill has been approved outside of the paralegal actually going in and checking the status themselves? There's a little more advanced setting. It's actually called bill notification. You can probably find someone in SmartBar to help set that up with you. And bill notifications will actually let you receive certain notifications about bills, such as status changes, like the one you're mentioning about.
Would that then also, in bill notification, can you set it up because the attorney wants to know when the bill's paid by the client?
I believe that is true as well, but I'll have to double check with you on that.
And I have one other question.
Yes.
If you send the bill out via snail mail,
Hmm. So the question is, what if I send it through snail mail? How will I update the shared status of the bill? Unfortunately, Clio doesn't actually support that, and you'd have to keep track of it essentially yourself. Unfortunately, that's just how it was designed. So yeah.
Well, my quick getaway was to email it to myself.
Well, then there you go.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
You in the back? Sorry. I think-
So the question was, does the client get a receipt after they pay through Clio payments? Yes, they do. Yep.
Yes?
If the client doesn't use the link to pay the bill in full, can they 2 weeks later use the same link to make a second payment on the same invoice?
That's a good question.
Yeah. So the question was, if the client doesn't pay the bill in full, or pays part of it, can they use the same link again to pay the bill, the rest of the bill? Yes, you can. Yeah. Yes.
Is there a way to have it show up, the email show up in my inbox too, or somehow show up where I have a record to show that I sent the bill?
So the question was, is there a way to get is it the receipt that you want showing up?
No, I really want to show, I wish it would generate an email that I could actually send instead of it kind of just disappearing.
Oh, okay. So the question was, is it possible to generate an email from the lawyer's own inbox out to their clients? Is that sort of the question? Unfortunately, not at this time. Everything is done through Clio, so the email would have to go through Clio. Unfortunately, it does give you the notification@goclio.com email address, I think, that gets sent out to your client. Yeah, there's nothing. That's, no, the question was to send it through their email, not Clio's email. Oh, sorry, I misunderstood that. Yeah, you can send a copy to yourself, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to get like exact details and shown how to do any of the things that you're asking, like feel free to go up to the smart bar and they can help you do exactly like show you where that box is, or it's sometimes hard to explain, but they're able to show you in the smart bar as well. Is there any other questions? Yes?
If you void a bill, do you lose the time entries? Say it was misbilled or something incorrect, you void it. Do you have to go back and re-enter the time?
So the question is if you void a bill, will you lose the time entries that is associated to that bill? And no, you would not.
They go
Yeah.
back into
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, it looks like that's all. Is that
Oh,
a hand I
there's-
see back there? Okay, so the question was, is there a way to do a trust request on an invoice? Unfortunately, not at this time right now. We did look into it when we were initially designing it, but things got, the word is complicated, unfortunately. So the easiest way to actually segregate the two was to actually have trust requests separate and regular invoices separate as well.
Okay. Well, thank you for everyone who came to our presentation, and we really hope to see you in 2017.